Oh. Okay, guys. I got a little question here. I love this margarita mix. Let's say you had to bug out. And again, I've made several videos already on why I think bugging out into the woods is a bad idea. It's a bad idea in my opinion. And I'm not going to go over it here. You want to, I'll leave a link to those. And I go over it, like a lot of stuff that people do not think about. But let's say I had no choice for some reason or another. I had someone send me a message, and they're like, well, what would I do if I did have to? Oh yeah, it's good stuff. If I did have to run into the woods. Well, the first thing is you better find a source of water, man. Hopefully you have a map of the area so you know we can find water. But there's other ways. I did a video on that too. You can find a creek or something, Indian well, or you can make a solar still and get some water out of vegetation. I mean, I guess there's the barrel cactus. That shit only works in the movies, so don't try that. But anyway, I made a video about that. There's ways you can look. I'm not the expert, but I know quite a few ways. But, find a source of water. And if you're lucky to find a stream, set up shelter somewhat of a distance away from that stream, right? Because if that's the water source, the only water source around, well then guess where these animals are going? Guess where, a deer or a raccoon or squirrel or something like that, guess where they're going to go drink out of? And then you guess where the predators are going to go to drink and to hunt. So I would say you don't want to set up shelter, right next to the stream or something. Right, so somewhat of a ways away, where it's not too far, but you can get there, get some water, do whatever you got to do. I would set up a water filter, right? And collect water reserves right away, because you're going to die without water. That's just the way it is. So I've shown you in the Why Preppers Will Die video how to make a simple water filter. I've made a couple water filter videos. You would take the water, run it through a couple stage filter, and then boil it. But fill up whatever you have, a canteen or soda bottle, whatever the hell you'd have with you. You want to start collecting and storing water right away. It can be purified later if needed, if you have it. I would say start collecting long branches for building shelter, right? And combine it with, if you have your bug out bag, you can use, if it's cold, emergency blankets if you have them, duct tape, tarp, build up branches and leaves, right, to keep in warmth. I've even thought of just taking a small 2-person tent. Depending on the there's mosquitoes and stuff that they carry disease, or if it's cold, you can have some sort of shelter from some kind of shelter from the elements. I mean, what if it's drizzly or something like that and it's cold? You can have a shelter up in minutes. Because, just like if you're in a vehicle or something in the wintertime and you got the heater on, and you roll down the windows, you lose the heat pretty quick. If a wind gusts, well, then it just, all the heat just gets sucked right out, man. So it wouldn't take more than a couple gusts of wind, one good gust of wind, and all the heat in your shelter is just gone. So I'd say, if you can get there's a really small 2-person tent I'm looking at, that would fit in my bug out bag, really small, but hey, it's a start, and then you can build a shelter and build over it. But I would say start collecting building materials and stuff to burn. I would say start collecting sticks and short logs for firewood, right? Stack large large logs opposite side from the shelter if it's cold. That way it'll send the heat to the shelter. Start collecting leaves and dry grass for bedding, right? Also using, on-hand supply of tinder. You basically, you take all this dry grass and stuff like that, and say you find it around, collect it, put it in bags or whatever you can, keep it dry. You have dry tinder at the ready, right? I would say in the other video I did, I had sandwich bags, and I would say I'd pack them with tinder, right? Just leaves and dry, or not leaves, but grass and stuff like that, dry grass and stuff like that, kind of soft. You can get some padding, plus that it'd burn up quickly. You put that under your shelter for some bedding. Dig a fire hole, build up rocks around the fire hole. You can set up cookware, and you can keep the fire from being seen, right? Assuming you have any kind of, you can find stuff out, if you're out in the woods, maybe you find soda cans and stuff. I would say set up a small perimeter if you can. If you got snare, fishing string, if you got quite a bit. Set up alarms, bells, or anything you can that would make noise if somebody comes into your camp or in the perimeter. I would actually have a few little pre-campfires set up, some fire holes around the camp perimeter, right? That way, if you see a large predator, you would, of course you get your firearm and you would light up the small fires around the camp to keep predators away. So let's say you got a tent or your shelter here, have a couple fires around there. And, fire is going to scare them away. You have one big one in the center, of course, and then a couple smaller ones away. The fire will keep the animals away, so I'd have that ready to go just in case, man. I'd rather scare a bear off with fire than, have to empty a shotgun on it and, hopefully that works before he gets to me, before he bleeds to death, hopefully. But that's what I would recommend. If you see a stream, set up a fish pen, right? Fish just swim right in there and get trapped. You go in there and pull them out, if you're lucky. Or hang lines from branches that are over the stream, right? I would set up traps about 100 feet in several directions, right? Not just at random, because you're going to wind up losing track, right? You don't want to forget about it because you're going to have so much snare and stuff like that. Stick and rock traps and snares and stuff like that. But in certain directions, 8, a dozen, something like that. But in, north, south, east, west, and then north, south, and northwest. Just different directions. The more you set, the better off you'll be. I had a slingshot in my bug out bag, right? Instead of worrying about the snare, you can also hit them with a rock out of the slingshot. You're never gonna run out of ammo, right? I never see that in anybody's bug out bag. That's what I recommend. Dig a latrine. Make it at least 100 feet away from your camp, right? Maybe behind some bushes or something if you're with a couple other people, right? If you have a water supply, well then, keep some water there. Use the Filipino tabo system. You just kind of rinse yourself basically, right? So there you go. Maybe you could have a torch or something at night, even though I guess if you got to go out, next to your campfire, that we can go just stick it in the ground and do your business and go back. Let's say you're able to hunt something, right? Pick a spot, man, at least 100 yards away. Like 100 yards, yeah. Make it a bit of a distance where you clean and dress animals, because you're going to leave carcasses and bones and blood of the hunted animals, right? That's going to happen when you cut open animals. You're going to leave blood and all kinds of stuff. Do not clean animals in your camp. You will draw predators. They're going to smell that, right? So make it a bit of a distance. And if you do take food with you, try to hunt small game or fish, right, before you use your emergency supply of food. It's going to run out. And when you run out of emergency food, you're just going to have to make it on what you get. And out of your emergency food, you better eat bare minimum. right? Bare minimum. You're going to eat, and then you're still going to be hungry. Because if you eat to get full, you're going to do that for just a short time. And then you will starve if you can't hunt. So, somebody asked me what I would do in that scenario. That's what I would attempt to do, right? Of course, I got the wife, which would be a little bit, pretty tough. And then the little one, which would make it a bit harder. But that would be the plan. Right? I'm not some survival expert, but, got some smarts, I guess, I like to say. But that'd be my plan. Whether it worked out that way, which it probably wouldn't, because nothing ever works according to plan. Which is why I've thought of, if I had to do what I think is a bad idea, well, I better know how I'm going to do it. So anyway, that's my answer to that question. Hopefully that helps. And again, I'm not the expert, but just my opinion, my ideas. And I know there's going to be a bunch of guys out there going to correct me, but hey, that's, I don't mind learning. So if you got something constructive to say, hey man, teach me. And, it's just somebody's going to be a dickhead, well then, you can leave comments elsewhere. But, constructive criticism, I'm not an expert. If you guys, I'm sure, going to have more experience. Hey, point out where I messed up. It's that way I'll learn in case, God forbid, I'm ever in that situation. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.